along those lines of our military, an infuriating new report on how the Pentagon may be failing our active duty military men and women, our veterans and their families. An investigation reveals how some soldiers who risked their lives abroad return home to another fight that they never expected. This time, they're fighting against a massive, faceless bureaucracy just to get the paycheck that they so richly deserve, having served their country. Pete Hegseth joins me now, veteran of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and CEO of Concerned Veterans for America. Since your return, you've made it your passion and your mission in life to make sure that the kind of situations that we read about in this Reuters report are not happening. But tell us, sort of what happened to U.S. Army medic Sean Aiken, as detailed in this story. It's unbelievably sad.
Sure. Unfortunately, this U.S. medic is not a unique situation. No. Reuters has really done yeoman's work here, exposing both the macro dysfunction of Pentagon bureaucracy, but also how it impacts the soldier at the ground level, who, when they come home, if they've been overpaid or have complications, their wages will literally be garnished, leaving paychecks down to pennies or even hundreds of dollars, and not enough to pay a mortgage. This particular medic had to go to the food shelter just to pay for what he needed. So you've got a bureaucracy that can't meet the basic needs of pay. It's called the Defense Finance and Accounting Service. Every military member knows about it because every unit deals with pay dysfunctions. I've had the same thing. I've had pay garnished from me. I just gave up because the Pentagon was so complex to try to navigate how to fix it, and it's very indicative of a bureaucracy that's calcified.
No, I mean, as you say, the same thing happened to you. You get your paycheck and you expected it to be a certain amount, and little by little, it's not there. It's diminishing over time.
And they don't tell you why.
And then what happens? You try to get somebody on the phone, and how does that work out?
You can't get anybody on the phone. You try to work with your local pay officer who can't get anybody on the phone, and it's ultimately local commanders that are tasked with fixing this. So it's combat units hit the most, who are out in the field that don't have the time to do the paperwork, and it's the folks in headquarters or at higher ranks that can navigate it, but it still hits generals too.
So we're talking about active duty military here.
National Guard as well.
While they're on duty.
While they're on duty.
So in some cases, somebody at home is getting the check and saying, this isn't what it used to be, honey.
Yeah. Or when they come home, it's been reconciled and it's smaller and smaller. Exactly. And there's so many different exemptions and pay slots that it gets very complicated. And for a soldier to really understand, to read your DFAS report, which is what you get every 2 weeks, it's not like reading the W-2s or some of the statements we would get for civilian jobs. It's that much more complex with codes everywhere, very difficult to understand. And it's indicative of this department, which hasn't been able to reform itself. It's never passed an audit, Martha, never. Congress mandated every federal department in 1992 to have auditable books. The Pentagon still does not. So in an age of sequestration, we cannot even find the waste so we can save the muscle and cut the fat and spare an Army medic like this the paycheck he deserves.
There's a story today about $34 million being spent on a headquarters in Afghanistan to run the war there.
No one will ever
nobody will ever be in.
Absolutely.
So you're telling me that you can build a $34 million headquarters in Afghanistan that's going to sit empty, idle, and we can't get our act together enough to pay people what they're owed?
And pay is just the tip of the spear at this point. Our procurements, the way we procure weapons systems, Government Accountability Office exposed $74 billion in waste in 2012 alone. Think about that. In a $550 billion budget, $74 billion, that's a real number. If you save that, you avoid sequestration. It's all about reforming a department. But who takes it? So where does it roll? Downhill to the little guy.
Who's fighting this battle? You're clearly
our organization,
fighting this
Concerned
battle.
Vets for America, is trying to do it. Senator McCain has called it the military-industrial congressional complex, because it isn't just special interests in the military-industrial complex, it's also congressional attitudes toward the not in my backyard, don't cut my defense system, don't cut this aspect of the DoD budget. Until we look at it holistically and try to reform it and squeeze out the waste, you're going to get the stupid sequestration cuts that we've had.
Yeah, well, it's outrageous, and people need to be aware of it. And thanks to this report in Reuters, they're going to do a whole series on it. And thanks to the work that you're doing, Pete.
Thanks, Martha.
We hope that everybody gets the message. Thanks. Good to see you again, Pete.
Thank you.